Hello, people of the internet. This is Kaiju Noir. Here with me again is Pete.
Hola!
And we are here to review Iron Man 3, the first movie of the second phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, well, we had high expectations for this one going in, haven't we?
I actually really did. I thought it was gonna be a completely different movie.
Really?
Yeah. I did see the trailers, and I initially thought this movie was going to be somewhat of like the downfall or like the depression of Iron Man 3. I thought this was gonna go to the point where he's almost regarded as like the anti-hero to a certain degree, which kind of happens in number 2. I was just expecting a lot more drama,
I see.
and even though there was plenty of drama, but this movie blew away my expectations, and it was nothing that I expected, and I was so happy that I got to see it, tonight. It was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like you were expecting Dark Knight, but instead you got something else.
Yeah, I was expecting something dark.
Right. Well, you see, I think that's the main difference between someone like Iron Man and Batman.
Yeah.
See, with like the Nolan Batman movies, you try to go like completely serious, try to go 100% realistic. You gotta get these people like very dark and emotional. Whereas Iron Man, he's like the complete opposite of that. Like ever since his introduction in 2008, he was the first person, like one of the first superheroes to say, "Hey, being a superhero is fun."
Yeah, okay.
There's both fun and drama, and that is what led these recent Marvel movies to great success.
Yeah, no, I have to admit, on a personal note, before the movies even came out, 1, 2, I wasn't a big Iron Man fan, and I can.
Oh yeah,
I'm
definitely.
sure to say it's a lot of fans weren't either. But the performance that Robert Downey Jr. brings in is beyond incredible.
Oh yeah, right.
He's made the character basically.
Of course.
He's brought him to like a new level of just characterization, I guess you could say.
Right. I mean, before the Iron Man movies, most people who did not read the comics mostly knew Iron Man from like the '90s cartoon.
Right.
And I remember he had a cameo in the '90s Spider-Man cartoon. Not sure if he had a cameo in X-Men. I highly doubt it. But other than that, he was a character who had very little exposure.
Yeah, personally, like again, on a quick side note for me personally, I didn't care about Iron Man. He was never a hero that stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
But with this franchise, he's become one of a really well-known hero.
Oh right, I mean they pretty much turned him around and made him a big household name.
Yeah.
He's up. I think he's pretty much replaced Spider-Man as Marvel's biggest superhero, possibly.
You could definitely say that. When it comes to obviously the Spider-Man trilogy, that's over. They're starting a new Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, but even then, the Iron Man movies still seem to outdo the new Spider-Man
By
movies.
far,
critically, and I'm pretty sure financially as well.
I can't agree more. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are saying, Iron Man is the new face of, of Marvel as of right now. That's the thing that stands out as of right now, because they're great movies. They really,
Right.
The whole trilogy has been a great movies, but I think we're getting a little out of it.
Oh, yeah,
Talking about
okay.
the series in general.
Right. We should probably do something, do something else like outside of reviews, to just discuss about random stuff like this.
Yeah, because I'm sure we'd go like hours and hours about this.
Well, let's start with a brief plot synopsis.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the story of Iron Man 3 obviously takes place right after the Avengers, and Tony Stark, he is pretty much still, he's kind of like suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, where he's still kind of shaken up by the fact that he had just dealt with an alien invasion led by Loki, the god of mischief.
Well, I don't think it was just that. It was also the fact, I don't want to spoil too much about the Avengers, but, he really did something that, almost took his life. He did something that was really, it was really scarring, to, give yourself away to that, So I could definitely understand. I think that's mostly a big part of as to why he feels those emotions.
Right, and he just spends all of his time just like creating new suits, shunning away from the world, except for Pepper Potts, his
a little upset.
girlfriend.
A little obsessed.
Yeah. And then, so now this new villain comes along called the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley. He is causing several terrorist attacks, kind of very similar to Osama bin Laden. I kind of got a Osama bin Laden feel from him. And now, because of a recent incident that involved his former bodyguard, Happy Hogan, played once again by Jon Favreau, Tony Stark now feels more compelled than ever to take on the Mandarin head on. Unfortunately, the Mandarin gets a one-up on him and ends up destroying everything he owns, basically, leaving him with only his wits and his resources. So now, Iron Man is now out of his element. He's now having to not rely on all his fancy toys in order to, take out the Mandarin and his plans to eventually, in a way, take over the United States government.
Right.
So now, going into Iron Man 3, what were your opinions on the first two movies?
First two movies, I'm pretty sure it's most people would agree. The first movie was great. The second movie kind of like, it was it kind of lost its place. It wasn't, it didn't capture, the greatness of the first one was. I was watching it just recently today, and it was still a fun movie, but by far I still, the third movie blows it away. It's such a fun action film. It's so like,
oh yeah,
packed with so many different things. Like this movie really stands out. It brings up just a lot of things we haven't seen in the previous Iron Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I absolutely loved Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie when it came out. It's hard to believe that it's been like almost like 5 years since that movie came out, 2008.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh my god.
And it pretty much set a new standard for superhero movies and comic book adaptations. When it came to Iron Man 2, I really enjoyed it, but I felt like it didn't really add anything new to the story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like Tony Stark didn't really change all that much as a person by the end of the movie, and the villains themselves weren't really all that impressive, and as well as the ending climatic fight scene at the end of number 2 felt a little on the short side.
If I can add to that, I think even in this movie, I still don't see Tony Stark as a changed man, and not that much in it anyways, but I think that's not what he's supposed to be. I don't think he's supposed to, I get the feeling like, he's just, Tony Stark. I don't feel like they're trying to really make him change in a heavy way.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, because I felt like in this movie, I felt like he is definitely a changed man. He is not the same person from the first movie or the second movie. I mean, one example was when he is confronted by by Pepper Potts. Rather than hiding secrets from her like in the second movie, he actually, tells her how he feels. She is the one person that he consoles with. Well, that and James Rhodes, War Machine, who thankfully is played once again by Don Cheadle.
I guess I can agree with you on that one. I thinking on that, I do agree on that.
I mean, of course, Tony Stark is still Tony Stark, yeah. But I feel like he's a much more mature Tony Stark. He's you don't see him acting irresponsibly, all
as
that
he did
much.
In the second one.
Yeah.
What did you think about the villains? Because that's one thing I really enjoyed about this movie in a sense. The twist with the villains was I really liked it.
Oh yeah, by probably the last third of the movie, there's a twist revealed about the villains, and without spoiling it too much, it's still quite faithful to the Iron Man Rogues Gallery per se. When it came to the Mandarin, what did you thought of him?
The whole thing in general was unexpected. The whole twist. I do have to admit, I kind of didn't like, the whole idea of, at one point one of the villains was ignored, and because of that he became a villain. I feel like that's a little cliche, and you tend to see it in some other things too. He was kind of in a sense screwed over or ignored, or no one paid attention to him, and for that reason, kind of wants his revenge or his own way.
Yeah, I kind of agree that it's sort of like that sort of backstory you've seen in several other mediums. However, I think it was done well enough here that it felt kind of fresh and new, especially when you got multiple parties interacting with each other to flesh out this one particular villain.
Right. And again, it was a twist for me that just kept me laughing. I mean, that's one thing that that will be happening with you in the theater, and whoever you're watching it with, you will be laughing throughout this movie.
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
it's not like the second movie where it tries to go too much into the laughs. It felt like like you said before earlier, it's a perfect blend of comedy and drama.
Right. Yeah. In this movie, they really get the just like the right amounts. There's some silly jokes here, and the scenes with the little boy, those were really enjoyable.
I was really surprised by that because normally when you have a movie like an action movie and you add a little kid in there, it's usually that little kid is poison to the story, the plotting, the characters and whatnot. One example was the Spawn movie. I'm pretty sure no one even remembers that movie or that character, but you basically had this one dark lone wolf figure, and you got like him like a kid following him around, and he pretty much it's just kind of like, why is this kid here? I just want to see Spawn. Well, me at least. I know, again, I don't think anyone remembers Spawn. Yeah. Well, anyways, the kid here, he was really good.
He was enjoyable.
Yeah, he was like he was like a younger Tony Stark, sort of, in a way.
In a sense, yeah. Another thing I have to admit that I really liked was just seeing them outside of the suits. And yes. Because in this movie, they're really in peril for most of the times because many times they don't have the suits available for them, readily available.
Right. Like I mentioned, like Tony Stark, he does not have all his resources. He doesn't have all his fancy gadgets and gizmos. Uh-huh. Even the main suit that you see in the trailers and the commercials, that suit is only a prototype.
I have to add on to that a little quick thing on that. I don't like how easily the suits are destroyed. They get dismantled very easily. That's something I do want to address.
Yeah, I guess that's because it's sort of like the grunt rule. I guess when you got a whole bunch of an army of basically an army, whether it's an army of ninjas or an army of robots. They're like the grunt units. They're there so that you can see grunts killing other grunts.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's just something that kind of like threw me off seeing, because in the movie, I don't know if this is spoiling a little too much, but you get to see so many different designs of the armors. And
I don't really think that's a spoiler because it is definitely shown in the trailers and in commercials. Okay. So yeah, the Iron Legion, as it's supposedly called on the internet.
Fantastic.
Yes.
It is so it gets you so pumped just seeing all of these different suits, designs, just get you so pumped seeing what they can do, what they're doing, and seeing them all just pop out at the same time. That's one of the best parts of the movie. Parts of the movie.
It's kind of interesting because in the first two movies, Iron Man is basically building the same suit over and over again, just with new modifications. Just make the same suit but better. Whereas all the Iron Legions, they're all each a whole bunch of different suits, each with like specific capabilities. Right. You got like one for heavy lifting, one for drilling, one for ammunition, right? One for speed.
And again, that I think was one of the best parts of the movie. I love the whole third act, the whole climactic fight is amazing and spectacular.
Definitely blows the climactic battles from the first two movies out of the water.
Absolutely. And again, even when they're out of the suits, they do such a great job. They're in peril. You feel that they are in risk because there's other people with different powers or different abilities that they don't have, and it's really funny when when he's tied up and some little magic happens with the suit.
Yeah, oh yeah. You get quite a lot of laughs because this new suit that he has, the one that's mostly gold and very little red, it has this gimmick that it can split apart into different pieces, and Tony Stark can control all those pieces with his mind thanks to some like computer chips that he installed in his arm. And because of that suit can instantly break up into a lot of pieces, you get a lot of comedic mileage out of that.
Yes, you do. And you would think that'd be overplayed, overused, but it really isn't. They use it like once or twice, maybe even 3 times in the movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely not overplayed. I like the amount of times they use a joke. They don't overuse it, which is good in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Now I want to ask you, what did you not like about the movie, if anything?
That's really hard. Well, I guess one thing is what is done with the villains. Like you say, one gets overshadowed over another.
Uh-huh.
And personally, the villain that gets overshadowed, I was kind of hoping for a more comic, a version that was more closer to the comics, because this character has like actual like powers.
I never got to read it, unfortunately.
Well, I mostly learned of this character from the animated series, both the 90s cartoon and from Iron Man Armored Adventures, that CG cartoon that came out right after the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
After seeing that version of that villain on television, I was kind of hoping for something more like that. But I liked how it was done. It may not have been my preferred choice of what they did with that character, but I enjoyed what I got.
Gotcha.
Other than that, I can't really think of anything else that I did not like.
I had a little nitpick. I had a couple, but I think the one that stood out for me the most, maybe because it feels like it should have happened, but a certain character is potentially killed off potentially, and when that happens, this certain character has a lot of many connections to Tony Stark, Iron Man, and I feel like when that happens, you don't see too much emotion in Tony Stark / Iron Man, and I feel like if they had, it would come off as a bit cliche, like, oh, you did this, now I can't forgive you, now I have to stop you, I have to destroy you. But you don't really see that. It just progresses on as a normal fight. I don't see any like added aggression, any added things. So that kind of like threw me off a bit. The fact that it didn't seem like it got him enraged or got him even a bit more angrier.
Interesting, because again, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, because I thought I saw, like, as soon as that one character supposedly died, you definitely see the look on Tony's face.
He had a facial reaction, but everything else was just okay. Back to the fight. He did have a facial reaction, but I don't think it was the facial reaction was enough expression. I think there was much more needed. And again, I think that would come off as a little cliche, because it is overdone, I have to say. But at the same time, I feel like in this case, just the face wasn't enough to show, how much pain he was in or how he felt.
Yeah. Another thing that bothered me is another thing, and like a nitpicky thing, as where they had to change a character for this movie, and that would be the Iron Patriot. In the movie, Rhodey, he was War Machine in the last movie. His suit was modified and was turned into the Iron Patriot. Now, for those of you who are into Marvel Comics, the Iron Patriot was Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. He became the Iron Patriot to convince everyone that he was a good guy. And of course, I wasn't expecting the Green Goblin to show up in this movie, but making Rhodey the Iron Patriot, I thought was kind of, I don't know, kind of weird.
Would you prefer to see him as
War Machine?
War Machine?
Yeah, but in the context of the story, I was not bothered by it after seeing how the story progressed. Although I kind of would like to have seen the Iron Patriot as a full-on villain. I mean, you have one bad guy get control of the Iron Patriot armor, but it's not for long. Before we go into final thoughts, I do have to say that I was kind of pretty surprised to see what's his name, Jon Favreau return as Tony Stark's former bodyguard, Happy Hogan, because Jon Favreau, he was the director of the first 2 Iron Man movies, and so seeing him in this one, in a movie where it's not directed by him, but rather directed by Shane Black, I was surprised to see, not only his character come back, but to have his character actually play a very important role in the story.
Yeah.
And I thought he was very entertaining in this one.
That's actually kind of true. And I swear I have so many nitpicks, but again, one final nitpick I have
Yeah.
was like with a PTSD. It seems like after a while the PTSD thing was only building up to a certain scene at a very certain end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the PTSD was built up for that. After a certain parts of the movie, I feel like the or I can't even pronounce it right now, is just dropped. I feel like they just leave it. And yes, he gets the motivation of the boy who helps him work through it, but automatically it's just dropped. I feel like you don't see it again throughout the movie, and that kind of bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there to an extent.
Uh-huh.
I would have liked to have seen Tony Stark get over his, what is it called, PTSD?
Yes.
Or
PTSD.
A B C D E F G. I would have liked to have like a longer process than just one scene of him getting over it, but it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a nitpick. It doesn't affect the story in much of a way at all.
I guess it just helped with the pacing.
Yeah. Again, I just think it's a fantastic movie with a little bit of problems.
So, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. A great movie. Go watch it. This is a movie you want to watch in theaters. This is a movie you more than likely want to buy. This is a movie like you want a complete collection of the Iron Man trilogy, and with the Avengers too. I mean, this is something you're gonna want to see, keep, and watch. Every so often.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially this movie
is a movie that you must own, must see.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely gonna leave a lasting impression on you, I believe, especially if you're into into superhero movies, especially the Iron Man. If you like the previous Iron Man movies and the Avengers.
Yeah, this movie blew me away, and I can't wait to see what else, what other Marvel movies come out. I know there's gonna be a lot of sequels to the originals,
mm-hmm.
and I can't wait to see what else they come up with.
Oh yeah.
So final thoughts on rating wise. For this movie, I would give it, I'd say a 5. 5 out of 5.
Oh yeah, I will agree with you there. 5 out of 5 for me as well. When I heard that they were making an Iron Man 3, I was thinking to myself, how are they going to make a follow-up to the Avengers?
Mm-hmm.
And they successfully made a highly entertaining, highly spectacular follow-up to the Avengers. I mean, the fact that they even reference the Avengers and the fact that that movie
really nice.
still plays a huge part in Tony Stark's character arc, just makes it all the more enjoyable. Makes
Absolutely.
it still feel like this is a part of of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And it, of course, it has its problems, but it does not jar the movie. It's like it really doesn't make too much of an effect on the movie. The problems that it has,
Right.
It's still a fantastic flick.
Definitely.
Go watch it.
Really, there's nothing more we can say.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, without spoiling the end credits sequence, because this is a Marvel movie, that there's a extra bonus scene for the fans at the end of the credits. What do you think?
Stay. Just stay, okay? Don't be one of those people who just leaves because you want to watch that little bonus ending. I felt in this case it was a little lackluster, but it was still nice. It was still funny.
It's not like something like from the end of the first Iron Man movie or at the end of the second Iron Man movie, where it's like you're not going to get a huge reveal of the next Marvel movie character.
Because and not only that, they're already established, and you already know of the Avengers.
Right. Basically, it's sort of like the ending credit scene to the Avengers, where it's sort of like a cute little gag at the end.
Yeah. Agreed.
So those are our thoughts on Iron Man 3. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!